What's going on, guys? Clone Force 23 here. We're bringing you guys the first undefeated 4-0 set 3 deck list for you here, and it's none other than the chosen one, Anakin Skywalker.
Oh yeah.
Let's get into this. So, of course, got Alec here, aka Roger Mack. Got my boy Alex with me. Um, Feel free to subscribe, like the video. Again, this is our first 4-0 from our locals. This was from one of our team members playing this deck to shout. So shout out to the stash man himself. He was unable to make it into the video just due to time constraints, but we are going to go over it with him. I kind of helped him build the deck, and unfortunately, there was some friendly fire, and I had to play him in the final. So I have at least some experience to go over what the deck does and what can be scary about it. So yeah, let's get into this. So we're talking about Anakin Skywalker, talking about blue red hero. I've said this a lot. I'll say this every time I talk about this deck. I love blue hero. It's my favorite archetype. All the cards seem super fair to play. But with Anakin, they seem super scary to play. So there's some just good old stuff in here, some classic blue red hero stuff, and then we have a couple new iterations into the deck. But let's talk a little bit about the cards that kind of get a little bit more mileage when you're playing them with Anakin. It's pretty much anything, right? It's everything just gets a little bit more scary that was played in the deck before. His ability to make these kind of smaller units bigger, especially some of the blue hero ones like Yoda or Concord Dawn or even Restored Arc that have less attack, more defense, but then they're gaining 2 attack when you use Anakin's ability. Make them much more efficient. And since you have the higher HP, you're not usually trading into some of those turn 1 plays. Specifically, we're looking at like Restored Arc and R2D2. Restored Arc with Anakin being a 4/3, and then R2D2 being a 2/4 or a 3/4 with his attack. And then the other big one is Yoda, because with Yoda, you're doing this ability for free. Because with Anakin, you have to pay the 2 life, but with Yoda, you're restoring that 2 life. So you're swinging with a 4/4 that can take something out, and you're drawing a card. So those, I think everything just gets better, right? As far as like the cards that existed before in the deck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you take 2 damage onto your base, but that positive removal that you're getting is probably mitigating more damage than you would have to deal with. So 2 seems fair, and it just wonderfully plays into the leader ability, which makes him just dangerous on the flip.
Yeah. Very scary. Very scary on the flip. So yeah, it's great to get more mileage out of those. And I will say, I think this deck, what Anakin does, because generally with this force throw, pillage, aggression, vigilance hero deck, can always trade out Young Han, Rey, Chirrut, and then some of the new guys, Obi-Wan and Yoda. You can all just play the same deck probably, and it'll still be great. But Anakin's version is just a little bit more aggressive because of his ability. And then when he comes out, you turn into the aggro deck. His flip turn is very scary. You probably have at least 10 damage on your base. And that's actually very manageable to do with your ability. Between Anakin's ability and Stila Guerrero, who we're going to talk about, it's very manageable to get to the point where you need the 10 damage. So Anakin is a 6/7 on flip with Overwhelm.
Yeah, you mean you just don't see that stat line at 6. Like 6/7 is insane, and if you're further down, it only becomes more impactful, and it's an immediate threat that your opponent has to deal with, or this deck's gonna punish you for it. And like, one of the really spicy cards I like about this is Bravado.
Yeah.
The if left alone, that's that's 12 damage, 14 damage, like going to your base. Like you're gonna catch up and then some, and that's just your leader that you're talking about.
Right.
I mean, another great shine on this deck is the newest addition from set 3, which is Stila. The amount of tactics that are available in blue and in red are just ridiculous. To pull that option out.
Yeah, Steela feels crazy. Steela just feels like a crazy addition to the game. She's in our top 10 best cards of this set, which video will be coming out soon, but she's pretty high up on that list. I think pretty highly of her. Out of all the 15 non-unit cards in the deck, they're all events, but only 5 of them are non-tactics, which are the 3 throws and then the 2 bravados. But yeah, bravado being the only set 2 card that kind of comes off the shelf into the deck finally, and man, it kind of just feels like it was made for Anakin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the thing he does is just his flip is in this deck is just such a different turn of pace for the game, right? When Ray flips or when Shrewd flips or Hantu, it's kind of like okay, they kind of feel like they like go with the deck. It's you're ready for it. It makes sense, but sometimes they don't command as much board presence. But when Anakin flips, man, that's like, oh wow, okay, this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 6/7 with Overwhelm and can get buffed and can ready himself again with Bravado. And yeah, I think Bravado just fits so well with Anakin. And that was a tech choice that our teammate made the second he saw Anakin, and I think it fits like perfectly into this deck. I don't think any of the other leaders would play this card. Like it goes with Anakin specifically. So that's cool to see our set 2 card coming out of the organizers finally, and it be good. And then yeah, we got we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 set 3 cards in the deck, and a couple on the board. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about those. We're playing Anakin, so we got to play Anakin's Interceptor, right? That's just kind of a given. Anakin's Interceptor is kind of like that just general good card that's probably going to go in a lot of decks right now. I think that's honestly the one that probably synergizes like the least with this deck. That's just like generally a good card. But late game, swinging for 4 with a 2-cost space unit always feels great. And again, getting to the 15 damage on your base, you can kind of do that to yourself if you need to. So
pretty reliably.
Yeah, pretty reliable. Just good space unit. Actually, I need to look up this card's name because I didn't know about it until this. But this is probably one of the best cards that Anakin's got, and that's Dendup's Loyalist.
Oh yeah,
This is a 2-cost aggression 2/3 fringe trooper. The man is this card scary in Anakin. He loves to have the initiative because if you let this exist on the board and you don't get rid of it, it's a 4/3 swinging with Overwhelm.
Yeah,
you can get a lot of mileage out of that.
Great turn 1 play and responding in turn 2 with a removal and some damage, and it's more than likely surviving the encounter because I think a lot of the turn 1s right now are staying at that 2/3 stat line. So you're taking out a unit, you're dealing damage, and that unit's still sitting there, so it could potentially do it again for a 3-drop with 4 health, which
is pretty general. Like you're just missing the 5 HP 3 drops, which are like the big ones. There's not a lot of them in one deck.
And yeah, I can't underscore the value of the leader side ability. I think this is a leader that has such a great leader side ability because it is just +2 for all of your units attacks if you need it at a
Yeah.
at a cost of health, yes, but for something that's going to pay off in a couple turns. Like having like Cassian turn 2 and then that potential to be attacking for 5 on the next response, and like K2, that's just that's going to take care of leaders if you have to.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
with leaders, just like Dentup's Loyalist, it's got Overwhelm, so you're going to do some damage as well. And it's just you always are just getting that leg up with that 2 extra attack. And it's just it's just insane. And then you get, the discard engine is, the discard is great in the moments that you get them. Especially if you keep trading up with, if you keep having, 2-for-1s with your early game, you've got more cards to play. You discard their cards, you just have advantage going into the late game. Which, with Anakin, it's like on his flip, you're gonna dedicate a lot, unless if you've got that Rival's Fall, which there's one in this deck, but it's not as useful in other blue decks. Like
Yeah.
it's living in the sideboard a lot more than other it's living a lot more than other removal spells, so you're not as worried about it. And even if they dedicate a Rival's Fall to it, okay, not great, but you see that blue late game with with Luke and Redemption, and the one Kiadi is in there, which again, it's another great leader, great or not great unit with great stats. I would, if I were to look at this deck, I might think about bumping that up to maybe 2. Not only just to have that great leader, great unit with the force tag, but that coordinate feels really good in the later stages of the game.
Yeah, for sure. And this again, you're kind of like the aggro version of this deck, and so needing just that like one card, you need your K2 or you need your Bravado, or you need this other card, which we're going to talk about, which is Grim Resolve. Having just a card that pretty reliably can net you 2 cards in the end game is super nice. And then it's just a force user with good stats, which is like just pluses to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's talk about Steel a little bit, and then we'll talk about Grim Resolve. Obviously, it's her on the card art, and it's a tactic as well. But talk about a card fitting into a deck that makes it scary. That's the other one. But yeah, Steel. Again, we're talking about searching cards that you need in this deck. I mean, your choices are Grim Resolve, Open Fire, Takedown, Fell the Dragon, Pillage, Vanquish, and Rival's Fall. Yeah, sure. I'll take any of those for 2 life out of my deck. Like, sure, for 2 life, I'll draw any of those cards. I don't even care which one it is.
Because in most of those, you're probably removing a unit that would have done more damage. So again, it's like it's that mitigation that you get to do with with Anakin's ability and with Stila, and there is a decent amount of restore units that can help you kind of offset that if needed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then Grim Resolve, that is the card that feels like it probably just goes in this blue-red hero deck, any of them.
Mm-hmm.
But man, Grim Resolve on a Redemption, swinging for 14. Sure.
Okay.
Feels great.
Yep.
But then you Bravado it. You get to swing for 28.
Yeah. I mean, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Like, it's if you it would be a perfect line, and if you were lucky enough, you could just manage the entire board, not put any damage on their base, and then you just do that.
Right.
And the fact that that line is possible in a deck is insane. But even Grim Resolve on like your other units, like you're setting that up almost constantly with Anakin's ability to have that
Yeah.
additional attack. And instead of leveraging the damage to your base, you use this card, and you might be going to their base to put the pressure on. Like you said, there is an aggro element to this sometimes, and that kind of helps put that pressure on to your opponent.
Yeah, on top of that, your units are going to be damaged because they're more than likely trading into other units or at least removing them. And so they're taking damage. So this card is just at least probably giving you a +2 for the attack.
Oh, yeah.
That feels, yeah, super good. Again, that card I think is just real good at any of the blue red hero, but in this one it just feels like it makes even more sense again with this aggressive nature. But yeah, overall solid. So talk a little bit about his matchups. So round one, he went against Red Rex, and he actually said that was his closest matchup. So the go wide kind of hard for this deck when they're just spamming out guys, and you're taking those like slow kind of 1-for-1 trades interactions. Bringing out the guys are a little bit tougher to deal with, but I was able to take it down. Round two faced Asajj Ventress Blue, and they were playing Pow City, which is the new blue base. So he said that was kind of interesting to play against. Round three was Maul ECL, probably the most standard deck we were expecting to see out of the new set. Just, yeah, we'll see Maul ECLs. That's just a great deck. Just typical normal stuff. And then talk about his round four, which is Friendly Fire, and I was playing the Dooku Blue. I don't think I'll make a video on it, but spoilers for you guys if you're watching. I went 3-1 with my Dooku Blue deck, but yeah, that matchup for me at least, sitting across the table from this deck, felt like, man, it was real hard to gain any type of control against it. Where I'm just playing guys and hoping that they live. That was real tough to deal with, and then. Again, we get into this, we talk about a lot, the blue hero endgame, this Obi-Wan into Luke into redemption is so hard to come back from. And that happened. And actually there was one game where he played Luke into Luke after the Obi-Wan, and I was just like, yeah, that's probably just game right there.
Yeah.
It's such a punishing tempo swing. And again, in this deck, now you have a incredibly scary leader flip turn on top of that. So yeah, it was not very close. It was pretty brutal, to be honest with you. But if anything, it just gave me hope, because I've always loved this deck style, and hoping to try out Obi-Wan Red, bring that to a tournament and see how that fares. But yeah, overall, felt great. Again, Blue Red Hero, just the deck performs well by itself, but now you just have a really strong leader to interact with it. Fun to see a deck that's playing a lot of new cards as well, new additions. Couple more in the side. I think the side is kind of more of just a test right now. Nothing like for sure that's going to stick in there. But said the Resolute came in pretty handy against Rex, so that's a good addition. Might be something worth playing one of, just into those token spam decks, something along those lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, just pretty solid, great lists, and I'm excited for Anakin. Not excited to sit across the table from him, but nonetheless, I'm excited that the chosen one of Star Wars is actually good compared to what some people thought of before the game came out.
Yeah. Any changes looking at it again?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that, me and him. There are a couple things that I had in this deck that worked well with the other blue leaders, but I think they don't work as well with Anakin. I've always loved the one of Fang Fighter, and having the takedown in the deck and stuff like that. But I don't really think Anakin needs that because his leader turn provides such a different swing for the game versus the cards you're playing.
Sure.
So the main things that I would have changed is I'd probably remove the Fang Fighter and the takedown and bring in just another open fire and another Kiadi Mundi. I know he was not really big on Kanan, honestly, in this deck because K2 is just so much crazier with Anakin's leader ability. So something like that. Yeah, it's maybe 4 or 5 cards that you got to tweak on the deck a little bit and see how that works. But overall seemed pretty solid. So I don't think there's a ton of change, at least on the horizon for it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean the only thing that I would want to try and squeeze in is maybe a Jedi lightsaber, but that also feels a little counterintuitive to the current strategy because it's not something you can search for with Stila, but the payoff would be pretty big, dropping it on any of your targets.
Right. Yeah, it's always scary on everything. Put it on a Force guy, it's even more scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think I don't know if it has a place, but I think those changes would make sense. I mean, heck, I want to try this. Seems pretty dangerous.
Yeah, it's fun. It definitely seems fun. It's again, a little different than those other style of decks. So I think that brings a little bit of, difference and gimmicky, feel to it. But it's good. It's not just like your typical gimmick decks. It actually has some legs. So yeah, excited to see where Anakin kind of lands in the future here. I think honestly, kind of undervalued him a little bit. Final thoughts, I'd probably throw this deck in solid A tier. I think it's pretty good. I don't know if it's super busted broken, but I do think it's up there for sure. Something you need to be prepared for.
Yeah, I think with a little tuning to the sideboard as the meta takes shape, I think I'd bring this to a a PQ or whatever comes down the road.
Right. Yeah, I'm excited it's almost fitting that Anakin's version of the deck is more aggressive, like his lightsaber form, and the Obi-Wan version that I made is more defensive, which is his lightsaber form. So we're definitely going to have a lore accurate finals match where we go against each other, Anakin and Obi-Wan, and just play some funny lore games. But yeah, super cool deck. Again, congrats to him for going 4-0 with it. It was our first tournament for set 3 that we were able to get to and sleeve up. Super fun. It felt great to just see a bunch of new leaders, no Sabines. It was just new stuff. So yeah, excited for the next month or so where everyone's just trying to figure out what to play.
Yeah, and we'll keep trying to share out any other decks that managed to go undefeated at in our local sphere, and I mean, otherwise just appreciate all the support that we've been getting so far on the channel. If you haven't already, subscribe, like our content, let us know if there's something that you want to hear from us, and we're just excited to keep this going.
Yeah, super excited. Fun stuff on the horizon. Other than that, that's all I got.
Alrighty. Well, then with that, Clone Force 23. Peace out.
Peace.
Space tech, spaceports, TCG, card sports, of course, till my voice goes hoarse. Welcome, wrecking, decking with the strategy, the energy, it's Clone Force 23.